Today marks the beginning of the end of a painful chapter in our state's and our country's history. Opening statements got underway today in the sentencing trial of the Parkland school shooter whose murderous rampage left 17 people dead. The families of the victims have been waiting for more than 4 years for any kind of justice in a process bogged down by legal battles and the pandemic.
The gunman Nikolas Cruz already confessing to the massacre at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, pleading guilty to 17 counts of murder. Now the jury needs to decide if he should receive life in prison or the death penalty. Our Mike Magnoli has been in the courtroom throughout the afternoon on this, what is expected to be the first of many days in this long proceeding. And Mike, we know many of the victims' family members are there. How do they appear to be holding up?
Well, I can tell you at several points over the course of the day, I saw family members running outside of the courtroom with tears streaming down their faces. You saw a lot of folks holding hands or putting a hand on someone else's shoulder. That's because the prosecution went into vivid detail in their open. Taking us back to that afternoon, we heard about how Nick Cruz Ubered to the school, went into a stairwell where he opened up his bag, taking out that AR-15 and a tactical vest. Then he went floor by floor, looking for lives that he could take, and the prosecution says this was a plan he had been cooking up well in advance.
And he fires again through the shattered window in 1216. This time, he shoots and kills Alyssa Alfadef. He shoots and kills Elena Petty. He wounds Justin Colton.
The lead prosecutor in the Nick Cruz trial, Mike Satz, tells the jury that Nick Cruz had long imagined and planned out a mass shooting at his old school. And on the day that he actually did it, February 14th, 2018, he targeted what was called the 1200 building. And as he passed victims he'd already shot, who had collapsed on the floor, he shot them again.
The murders were especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. 4, that the murders were cold, calculated, and premeditated.
This is Max Schachter, whose son Alex was one of the first shot during the rampage. Alex was in English class. In time, the jury will hear impact statements from the victims' families, but first they'll have to see footage from school security cameras and listen to eyewitness testimony, a process that's slated to take months. For its part, the defense will try to get this jury to spare the confessed killer's life, showing how a troubled childhood resulted in mental illness. On day one of his sentencing trial, Cruz spent much of the time slumped over, one hand on top of his head.
In the middle of her lecture, we heard the first couple of shots, and from there we dropped to the ground and started running towards the window.
Window.
Just heartbreaking. You saw the woman headed for the exit. She recognized the voice in that piece of audio. That was her loved one. And he's not here anymore. And Liz, Jim, want to point out that the defense did not present an opening statement today. They were given the option to do that, but they say that they want to wait to do that until they're about to start calling witnesses. And remember, this process is probably going to take months, with every day very, very painful for these families. We're live in Fort Lauderdale tonight. I'm Mike Magnoli, CBS 12 News.
Some of the parents who were in the courtroom today also reacting on social media.
Fred Guttenberg, who lost his 14-year-old daughter Jamie, tweeted 1 week ago today, "I was at the White House to celebrate POTUS signing gun safety legislation. Today, I am at the courthouse for the start of the penalty phase of the criminal trial of the person who murdered my daughter with an AR-15. This is the reality of gun violence."
Max Schachter's 14-year-old son, as you heard, also killed that day. He kept his message short to the point, sharing pictures of his son with the caption, "I love you, Alex."
Another trial is set to begin next February for Scott Peterson, who was the only armed sheriff's deputy at the school when the massacre started. Surveillance video shows Peterson taking cover outside instead of charging inside during the shooting. Peterson says he didn't confront Cruz because he didn't know exactly where he was and whether he was firing from inside or outside the building. He was fired and charged with multiple felony counts of child neglect. If convicted, he could be sentenced to a potential maximum of 100 years in prison.
The Parkland school shooting has had lasting impact on security in our schools, spurring several changes over the past 4 years. One of those is the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act. It was signed into law just weeks after the massacre. It bans bump stocks and also raised the minimum age to purchase a firearm from 18 years old to 21. The law also allows teachers who receive training to be armed in school.
Another law named after one of the victims, Alyssa Al-Hadef, requires schools in our state have some kind of panic button alert system. In Palm Beach and Martin counties, teachers carry a badge at all times that lets them click a button for emergency help. Indian River County uses a panic button system through cell phones and also on its school radios, providing a direct link to law enforcement. And St. Lucie and Okeechobee counties both use app-based systems.